welcome you all to my channel, Tech Journey with Ankit. In today's video, we will be exploring another OAuth flow. In the previous videos, we have already explored few of the OAuth flows like the authorization flow, implicit flow, pixie flow. Now, in this video, we will be exploring the client credential flow. We will try to understand in what scenarios, as an architect or a developer, you should go and select the client credential flow over the other OAuth flows, and we will also do the demo part as well down the line. In case you folks like to have the connect with me, you can do that on my YouTube channel. If you navigate to my YouTube channel, there are different playlists which are available on the channel. In case you folks like to explore the Lightning Web Component scenarios, Apex Trigger scenarios, end-to-end Lightning Web Component course, integration course, right? Or the integration videos based on the different topics like the platform events or the bulk API, change data capture, Salesforce Connect, all the less talked integration concept, but those are very important in case you are preparing for your lead or an architect role, then definitely you can check out the channel. Moreover, as I said, I already put lots of videos on the OAuth as well. So I would recommend you guys should also explore this part as well. In case you folks like to have one-to-one connect with me or also wants to download few of the digital products that I have published, you can navigate to the top mate. Again, when you navigate to the top mate, there are two options. Option number one, to have one-to-one connect with me. Moreover, you can also explore few of the popular digital products which are available on the top mate, which is published by me, like the LWC notes and the interview prep guide, admin notes, and the data cloud consultant notes as well. In addition to that, very recently I have published my Udemy course as well, which is based on the real-time project. In this Udemy course, you will understand how to build the project from the scratch, where I have covered the project from the admin point of view as well as from the developer's point of view. Moreover, in this project, I have used the multiple frameworks like the trigger framework, error handling framework. So I try to replicate how we go and build the project whenever we are working for the enterprise. I'm sure that you guys will get lots of learning if you go and enroll this course and try to build the project from start to end. Moreover, you can also connect to my Telegram group as well, where the like-minded people do discuss their Salesforce queries and look for the solutions. All the links that I have discussed, it is available in the video description, so please check that out. So let's go and try to understand the first thing, what is the client credential flow? And in what scenarios you should go for the client credential flow. The definition for the client credential flow here is whenever you have to go and set up the authorization for the machine to machine integration. Whenever you are integrating the one machine to another machine, for example, you are integrating the Salesforce with the AWS or the Salesforce with the Azure, right? Where you don't want any user involvement. The key part here is you want the machine to machine should go and do the communication without user involvement. Then the Salesforce recommend that you should go for the client credential flow. The client credential flow, as I said, it is specifically designed for the scenarios where the requester is the machine. For example, there's a machine who is requesting for the resource, right, to perform some automation or to perform some task. In such scenarios, you should go for the client credential flow. That again, that means I'm iterating one more time because this is very important constraint that you have to remember about the client credential flow, that the no real-time user interaction is required whenever you are working on the client credential flow. So what will happen in this flow? An application, that is typically a client, authenticate itself directly to the authorization server using the credentials. But again, as we are using the OAuth flow, we don't use the credentials like the username and the password. Here we use the credentials like the client ID and the client secret. And everything we are doing here to make sure that we are obtaining the access token. So in this flow, the client will authenticate directly to from the authorization server using the client ID and the client secret and directly obtain the access token. Let's go and break down this line into by understanding the steps that should be followed or that is getting followed in the client credential flow. As I said, the very first thing, that is the authorization request. As a part of authorization request, client will send a post request along with the client ID and the client secret. So the client will prepare the post request. In that post request, client will make sure that you will have the client ID and the client secret. Moreover, you will specify the client type as the client credential. Based on the client type only, the system will understand you are using the client credential flow. Then the next part come here is the verification. Once the request has been received, the authorization server will go and verify the request and then authenticate the client. Once the client has been authenticated, then the authorization server will go and issue the access token. Right? So this is the step number one where you are making the request. Step number two, where the verification part will be happening, and the step number three, in case the verification is successful, then the access token will be sent. Now there's one very important concept that also you have to understand with the client credential flow, that is the integration user. This is not mandatory but a best practice that Salesforce do recommend that. Although, as we discussed in the previous slide, that the client credential flow does not require any user interaction. However, Salesforce requires an execution user to do that integration. Again, I am iterating, as although the client credential flow does not require any user interaction, Salesforce require an user for an execution to provide the context, to provide the permissions, auditability, traceability. For all these purpose, we need one user. But again, we don't want this user should have all the different kind of access, right? We want this user is something which is specifically used for the integration purpose. Whenever we have that kind of a requirement, we go and create the integration user in the Salesforce. So what is integration user? Integration user is a specific Salesforce user which is assigned to run the client credential flow. Integration user is the one user who has been assigned to run the client credential flow, so that says we can provide the context for accessing the permission. We can go and define what all different functionalities that one machine can access. We can go and put the auditability and the traceability, everything on the behalf of the connected app. Right? By default, Salesforce will provide the few integration user licenses. If I'm not wrong, the number is 5. There are 5 Salesforce integration licenses that Salesforce will provide for free. Right? And to make the any user with the integration user license, you can either assign the user, you can either go and assign the user license as the Salesforce integration, or you can also use the permission set license with the name of Salesforce API integration. So while creating the user, you have to make sure that you are selecting here the user license as the Salesforce integration here, or you are assigning the permission set license, as I said, with the name of Salesforce API integration. Right? Whatever the user permissions that you are defining under this profile, which will define what the connected apps can access with the help of the API call. Right? Because under the profile, you can go and define the multiple object levels and the field level security. Right? So whatever the securities that you will be defining, right, permission of your connected app can access those via the API calls. So integration user is typically given only the permissions needed for the integration. This is the best practice that we generally follow. Whenever we go and create the integration user, we give them a very limited permission. We only give them those permissions that the integration should do, or that particular integration task should do. Right? Often we also make them as the API only user, which will restrict them to perform only the API interactions. We also make them as an API only user. This is the typical permission that we'll be assigning, so that they will be restricted to the API interactions only. And Salesforce do also recommend that for every integration, you should go and use the different integration users. Although you can use the same integration users for the multiple connected app, but that's not a good practice to follow. The recommendation from the Salesforce here is every integrations that you are doing, you should be having the separate integration user. Now, based on our learning, I would request you to please try to answer these MCQs in the comment section. The first question here is, what is the main purpose of the client credential flow? We have discussed the few flows in the past, but in what scenarios out of these 4 you can think that we should go for the client credential flow? Next one here is, which of these is true about the user context in the client credential flow? Right? how the user context will be driven basically in the client credential flow. Next point here is which Salesforce connected app setting is specifically needed to support the OAuth 2.0 client credential flow. Okay, and you will be able to answer this particular question based on our demo. I will show you after the demo how you can go and during the demo how you can go and configure the connected app for the client credential flow. Right, so we will go and try to implement this, but the very first step that we will follow here is we will go and we will go and create the API user, and for the API user here we will make sure that we are putting the user license as well as the profile. Okay, so let me navigate to the org, and here I am navigating to the users. I am simply creating the one user here. If I'm not wrong, I have already created that user. Let me show you. This is the API user that I have created, right? You can see I have assigned the user license to that user as the Salesforce integration, and this is the profile that I have assigned to this user. Apart from that, there are no other changes in this user. I have not assigned any permission sets or anything. I have taken the option of the profile. In case you don't want to take the option of the profile, want to take the option of the permission set license, it's completely okay. Okay, but make sure that you are assigning the API only permissions to the user. This is the very first step that you have to do whenever you are working on the client credential flow. Step number 2, now you have to go and create the external client app. External client app, you can say it's a new thing that it's a new thing. Rather than you go and use the connected app, I have published a video on my channel. What is the difference between the connected app and the external client app? Right now in the Salesforce, you will not have the option to go and create the connected app. If you go to the app manager, system will ask you to go and create the new external client app, right? Because it offers better security over the connected app. Moreover, it is very helpful for the packaging purpose as well. As I said, the detailed video is available on the channel. Do check that out. So here I will be creating the new external client app, and let's say here I am giving the app name as the client credential flow demo. Right here I'll be putting my email address. After that I will be putting here the making the enable the API, enable the OAuth. After that I will be putting the callback URL. Let me go and copy this callback URL. I will put this callback URL in the chat box as well, so you guys can refer it from there to this callback URL. Right, and then I'll be putting the different OAuth scopes that should be available. So here let's say I'm giving the different OAuth scopes for now. Ideally you should not give the full access flow, but as we are doing it for the learning purpose, I am giving it the full access flow as well. Otherwise you should give the flows which are required for your integration purpose. Okay, so let me give here the manage user data. Right, I believe these are enough for now. Right, these are the different flows that these are the different scopes that I am providing. What is scopes? We already discussed in the previous video. We already discussed each and everything on the connected app, so please check out that video as well in case you don't know what all the different types of scopes. Scopes are something which will define what all different access your connected app should do, or your connected app should have. Okay, and then this is the very important step that you have to do whenever you are working on the client credential flow. This is how you are letting the connected app know that this connected app will work under the client credential flow. So here I am enabling it, right, and clicking on OK. After that, let me navigate to the, I don't want to go and enable the PKC here, so I am unchecking it, and here I go and click on create. Now my external client app has been created. But as I said, for the client credential flow to run, you have to run this on behalf of some user, right? So what you have to do, you have to go and set the OAuth policies now in the external client app. So as soon as you have created this, you have to navigate to the OAuth policies, and here you have to make some changes. So here I am clicking on the edit button. Here I am saying that only the admin approved users are pre-authorized to run this. And let's say here I am making the admin authorized users like the system administrator or the profile that we have enabled just now. Let me look for that API only profile. Yeah, this is the one. I'm not sure whether this is the profile that we have enabled, or let me look for the another API profile as well. Yeah, I believe either one of this profile, I have put it on the user level. So for the time being, I am enabling both of them. You can also go and check at the user and enable one of them. Next, very important setting that you have to do here is you have to go and enable the client credential flow. And this is where you will be selecting the user on behalf of which the system should go and run this. So here I need to go and put the username. So I have to go and look for the username of that user. Let me navigate to the users part and get the username. So this is the username. I'm copying it and I'm pasting it here. Right, this is how you go and specify how your OAuth flow should run. So here I'm specifying the run as with the specific username, and then I will be clicking on the save button. Now my connected app is ready. I have configured my connected app should be run on behalf of which user, right? Now I will go and get the next very important thing, that is the consumer key and the consumer secret. Because if I have to go and perform the integration, there are three things which are required. First is the domain name, client ID, and the client secret. So what I will do now, I will go and follow these steps that we discussed. This one, right? I will go and send the authorization request. So I will be putting up the post request, right? After that, my authorization server will authenticate that client, and then my authorization server will go and issue the access token. So I will show you the step-by-step approach how you can get this done. And for that, we will go and take the help of the postman. Okay. Moreover, let me also open the client credential flow documentation as well, so that we'll understand how you can go and prepare your post request. Okay. So I'm navigating to the documentation. I will put this link again in the video description. So this is how you have to go and prepare your request, right? So let me navigate here, and I will be creating another collection here and creating the blank collection with the name of client credential demo, right? And here I am adding the request. I will be putting up the post request, how my request should look like. So for my request, the very first thing that I need to put up here is the domain name. And for that, let me click on the consumer key and the secret. You can also go and get the domain name from the setup menu as well. But let me directly take it from the client credential page. So here I'll be putting 385519, my verification code, right? That you can directly also have the domain name coming up from the URL. So this is how my domain name will look like. So I'm copying it from the URL at this moment. Navigating here, I am putting the post request. After that, navigating to the documentation, they are saying that followed by @services OAuth 2 token. This is the request that you have to send. Right now, the different parameters that you have to pass in the form of body. So I'm navigating here, right? And here they are saying that the different things that you should be passing up here is the grant type, client ID, and the client secret. So I have also put the screenshot how you should go and send this. So here you can see, first I am putting the post request, then we have to make sure that here I am making this request as the URL encoded and then putting up the different parameters. So first parameter that they are asking here is the grant type, and the grant type should be the client credentials. So here I am putting the grant type as the client credential. Next thing, we have to go and specify the client ID. So here I'll be taking the client ID from here and pasting it here. And followed by that, I am also putting the client secret, getting the client secret and pasting it here. This is how we have populated all the three details that we have to send to the post as a form of post request. The expectation here is we should go and get the access token. So let's go and check it out if you are getting the access token or not. If everything goes well, you guys can see now we do have the access token coming up with us. I hope you folks got the clarity how to use the client credential flow whenever we have to perform the integration between the two different machines without the user involvement. Do let me know, folks, in the comment section if you do have any questions or any queries on the client credential flow, and I will be happy to answer. For the time being, thank you. Have a good time.